toxic masculinity and hyper-feminism are making the rounds. Is feminism and women empowerment, are they a threat to men? When women are kind of deconstructing, healing, saying no to certain behaviors that don't work for them, are men threatened by it? In feminism movements, mostly men are not included. Are the men feeling isolated? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 4 of the Courage to Identify podcast with me, your host, Sharon Angel. Today, we're going to talk about an interesting topic. I chose to discuss the fact that men and women are pitted against each other. Now, with social media narratives, things that we see online or things that we just see on the news even, it seems as though men and women are at war with each other. With the narratives that we see on social media, with the stories, with the debates, with even many of the podcast episodes, I at least hear that men and women are on polar opposite sides on many issues. So in this episode, I wanted to discuss, are we really on the opposite sides of the spectrum? What makes us different and how do we navigate this? Because I think that we need each other. We need to work together in order to make anything a reality. I had a lot of fun thinking through this episode and I wanted to share some of my thoughts with you, and hopefully I will see what you think in the comment section below. So get your comment section ready to type out your thoughts and share with me maybe your opinion as well. So on social media, what I see currently is when men have an opinion about women or women have an opinion on men, or just they exist and go about their lives, these terms like toxic masculinity and hyper-feminism are making the rounds. So even as men exist and do their own thing and don't even try to get in the way of women, or women are just doing their own thing, there are these terms that are floating around in order to maybe demotivate them, call them as red flags, or isolate them, saying their behavior is not worthy or warranted of any attention. So has just being yourself become a threat to the other gender? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I would love to have a conversation about this. Now, I do have to bring up feminism and women empowerment at this point. And I want you to think through these two factors, feminism and women empowerment. Are they a threat to men? What I see in many of the social institutions that I work with is that women are breaking generational curses, generational cycles, both as single women and as married women, things that are told to them to be a certain way, to do a certain thing because of rituals, traditions, habits, and certain behaviors of previous generations. They are breaking away from these cycles to say, I do not want my children, my daughters to experience the same things that I did. Perhaps my mother did, my grandmother or aunt did. So they are saying no to certain things, picking certain battles and saying, I'm going to fight this battle for myself. So my generation and the future generation doesn't have to go through the same pain, the same shame, and the failure of the previous generations. I see that as a good thing, because why would you pass down these negative emotions, or why would you pass down something that is not going to work for the future generations? So when women are kind of deconstructing, healing, saying no to certain behaviors that don't work for them, are men threatened by it? So coming to the other side of this, coming to the other gender, the men, are men not feeling needed anymore? Men not feeling wanted anymore to say, yeah, she can earn money, she can drive, she can pay her own expenses, she can do certain things for herself. Why am I needed, or where am I needed? I see that conversation coming up so many times because in women empowerment and in feminism movements, mostly men are not included. So men do feel isolated. Men do feel that they don't get the worth or the value that they need in order to feel their full self. So what do you think? Write down in the comment section below with these movements, or with women kind of changing trajectory, changing behaviors from previous generations, are the men feeling isolated? And are women given equitable opportunities by the men in order to break away from these cycles? Now, for argument's sake, men are also doing the work. Some men are also doing the work to break away from these generational cycles. We have evolved as a generation to say that gender roles have changed as a society. Both men and women have been provided certain opportunities so that not one gender has to do a certain thing. So in this generation, I see that I say this all the time, there are multiple income households. Women are doing things that were stereotypically men jobs, manly roles. And men are also doing things in the house and things around the society, around community, that are typically women roles. I see that women can earn, women can lift weights, women can lead, women can drive. They can have healthy babies when they are older. And on the other side, men can cook, men can clean, men can nurture, men can change diapers, and even contribute in the house, all while they are successful in their career, all while they are represented well and have a voice in their community. Of course, our previous generations may not have had these opportunities in order to be a voice, to have a voice, or have equal roles and come to a balanced field in terms of strength, ability, and intelligence. And of course, this is thanks to education, this is thanks to globalization, this is thanks to opportunities that are available in jobs and careers, in politics, in government, in religious spaces, in social spaces, and so much more. But when there's this narrative of men and women are pitted against each other, do we as humans accept these different gender roles, accept these nuanced roles for men and women? And when we are thinking differently, or when we are accepting of different things, do we bring that into our house? Do we bring that to our inner self? And do we practice it in a way that we are accepting of the opposite gender? So here are a few things that I thought we should integrate into our daily lives in order to negate this conversation that men and women are pitted against each other. Now, I do want to clearly say that we need each other. Men need women, and women need men in order to function as a healthy society, as a whole society. This could be inside the house, this could be outside the house, this could be in community spaces, this could be at jobs, wherever, whichever platform. Men and women need to work with each other in order to be a healthy society, a functioning society. So a few things that I wanted to touch upon was, number one, our core values. As a man, do you want to be someone who contributes in the house and is successful in your career? And as a woman, do you want to be someone who runs the household well while having a successful career? It is very important to think through the roles that you want to play in your relationship, in your house, in society, so that you are able to communicate what your expectations are with the other gender. And this communication is key, because when we don't do that is when a lot of the fights, a lot of the disagreements and arguments happen in relationships. Number two, it is very important how children are raised. Now, in the future generations, gender roles might be even different, or it might look even different than this generation. So it's important to educate them, make them aware, and raise them with an open mindset to understand that things that are relatable and relevant to our generation might not be the same for their generation. So critical thinking is important. It is important to discipline them, yes, but also raise them in a way that they have curiosity and they're able to make their own decisions, that they are empowered in a way that they're able to make their own decisions when time comes. So there are these terms, daddy's girl and mama's boy or mama's son. And these are typically used, or they are typically called to insult someone or to kind of throw shade at someone. And it comes with a connotation of, oh, you're just like your father in a certain way, or you're just like your mom. You're so attached to your mom in a certain way that, is not okay, is not healthy. But instead, what if we raise daughters to be fathers' daughters and raise sons to be mothers' sons? And what I mean about this is being parents who have given their children successful tools or given their children tools to become successful in life, given them encouragement in the way that they are able to make sound decisions and are happy with those decisions as life goes on. And being parents that don't need to rescue their children all the time in their older age, in their mature days, but have confidence in their children to say, my child will make the right decision when the time comes because I have trained them well. So in a way, insecure parenting also needs to be broken. Insecure parenting also needs to be something that we need to work on as a generation, because then it leads to raising insecure kids. So these terms, father's daughter and mother's son, comes from a place of strength, comes from a place of security and confidence in order to raise children who are secure and confident in themselves and don't need to look for outside validation in order to perform well in life. And another point I will say to that is we need to start raising kids who have unique perspectives and are original in their thinking, because as an Indian society or as a Southeast Asian society, we have raised kids to stick to a mold and be followers and not leaders. So when kids have confidence in themselves to drive, to work, to pay their own bills, and have an opinion, have a voice for themselves, then their identity is strong at a very young age, and they're less prone to making mistakes in life. Number 3, how do we fight to stay in a relationship? Again, going back to social media narratives, there's this trend or there's constant conversation of, if it's not okay with you, if it is not for you, leave. If it is not working for you, leave. If it is not serving you, leave. If it is not something that's right for you, leave. Yes, there is a time when you need to leave, when your dignity is at stake, when your life is in danger. Yes, absolutely, you need to leave. When your gut instinct says, I've seen all the signs, I've seen what I needed to see, I need to leave. Yes, you need to leave. But in many relationships, the two individuals in the relationship do not know how to fight to stay in that relationship. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, because fighting to stay in a relationship or fighting to make the relationship work comes from past relationships like friendships, familial relationships, in business relationships and things like that. So when you have a conflict, and when this generation has a conflict, it is very easy to leave, to say, this is not for me, this is not working for me, I will go find someone else. And I want to challenge that thought to ask, are you really going to be able to find this person, this picture perfect person that you have dreamt in your head? Or it is just a situation that you're uncomfortable with and you need to work through communication, by having some thoughtfulness, some kindness, and some kind confrontation in order to be able to stay in that relationship and work through that relationship. I also want to address lethargic relationships. There are relationships where one person is a giver and one person is a taker. And one person is usually the one to make an effort, and the other person is usually one to entertain all of that and take it all in and not reciprocate those efforts. Effort is very important in a relationship, and you could be someone who's always been benefited by someone else's love, someone else's energy. But when it comes to making friendships work, when it comes to making romantic relationships work, who you are plays a huge role, because you will change even during the relationship. You will change as life situations come at you. When those tough times come at you, your perspectives will be challenged. And when you are lethargic at that time, when you are complacent at that time, it not only hurts you and the relationship, but it also hurts the other person. So it's very important to make an effort, at least to communicate. What do you think? How do you feel? What does the other person think? What does the other person feel? And this is the way you fight to stay in a relationship than fight to leave. And number 4, and my final thought, the kind of friendships that you have when you are in a relationship, when you enter a marriage, or even when you're single, trying to say yes to a partner matters. The kinds of friendships that you must have at this point is someone who motivates you, who encourages you, who helps you see the right perspective, and is positive, giving you positive feedback of this man or this woman has brought all of these things to the table, brings all of these things to you. How are you going to reciprocate it? A friend that helps you think through things, a friend that helps you and listens to some of the deepest, darkest problems that you have and helps you solve them. Because it is easy to find a friend that gossips, find a friend that blames, find a friend that gaslights, find a friend that's negative, and find a friend that just has a very bitter perspective on life. Now, this can trickle over and these kinds of friends can influence you negatively, but also in the long term won't help you have stable relationships with other people, because you might find that you are attached to them, you are emotionally engaged with them. So be careful of the friendships that you have. And if your friend is kind to you, if your friend is motivating you in the right way, even though they're strong and stern with their words and actions, maybe that's the kind of friendship that you need in order to navigate relational problems, navigate problems in other friendships, and navigate through some of the questions that you might have in relationships. I will preface that when you're making decisions in your relationship, when you're making decisions in your relationship with the other person, that decision should be between you and the other person. And obviously, outsiders or parties outside of that relationship should not influence you. It's always good to have a sounding ear. It's always good to have a listener. It's always good to have a friend who knows you to give you some perspective on things that you're going through. So, I don't think men and women should be pitted against each other. I don't think we should be at war with each other, because we need each other in many ways, and we should want each other's company in many ways. But if you are someone who's contributing to this war, or if you're someone who is just making these comments and who are making these videos on social media that is influencing people in a negative way, please stop. But I do have to take time to thank some of the researchers, some of the influencers who have made an effort to have an opinion on this conversation, to bring both men and women together. A lot of the psychological conversations that are on social media help men understand women and help women understand men, because they might be conversations that we're not having in our household. They might be conversations that are nuanced, that they might be conversations that are good for our future generations. So whatever you listen to, please take it with a grain of salt. If you are contributing to this war, please stop. And if you have this connotation that the other gender is against me, if the other gender is coming at me for no apparent reason, I ask you to challenge that thought. And is that something that's really happening? Is the other gender just not necessary for you to live through life? And meeting the other gender, what are the efforts that you're making in order to approach them, to have relationships, healthy friendships, and practice healthy familial relationships in the house? Do write your comments down below. I would love to read them. I would love to engage in this conversation. And please be respectful of your own thoughts, the way you represent yourself, and also to others in the comment section below. I am super happy to engage in this conversation. And as always, I hope this topic was interesting to you and it was informational to you as well and helped you think through things. You can follow me on my social media and also visit my website, SharonAngel.com, for more information on my podcast and about identity. This is Sharon Angel with the Courage to Identify podcast. I'll talk to you soon.